And we've been talking about the real deal this weekend. You know, we talked about the fact there's deal and no deal, you know, the Australian television game. We talked about fraudulent deals that people do. We talked about the type of deals that people do with things like drugs and all the rest of those kinds of things. And most of us embark on some of those kinds of deals. The latest one has been the pay later deals, isn't it? You know, buy now, pay next year. Some deal. People think they're getting a real bargain out of it. You know, for a whole year I don't have to pay interest, but boy, do you suffer if you haven't paid for it by the time the thing starts. And so we're talking this morning about the real deal. And I want us to go on a little bit of a journey with this whole deal, because there's an aspect to it that we may not have thought about. See, the truth of the matter is, there is a deal that God gives. We give each other all sorts of deals, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But there is a deal that's offered to you and to me, to every one of us here. There's a deal. Some kids think this is a great deal today. You know? Because of one thing. And you know the old saying that comes with these Easter eggs? Originally they were used by some groups as fertility thing. But when Christianity came along and Christians were looking for something to remember Christ by, they came to this whole deal of Easter eggs. They're called Easter eggs, they were just eggs. They weren't chocolate, by the way. They were just straight eggs that were blown out. When I was a kid, we lived in the country, we used to blow eggs. You pierce the bottom and pierce the top, and you blow the things out, and then you paint them. And that's what they used to do. And they used to do this. On the day that we're celebrating today, they used to say, "The grave is empty, won't you come and see?" And they used to smash the egg and show that the tomb was empty. The yolk is gone. The white is gone. Won't you come and see? Now, my wife is going to help here, because we like the children to be able to experience a little bit of. The kids are going to come and get a little wee bit of chocolate each. Let's give the children a big hand here. Come on. Now, I want you to think about this. All these children are flocking for one reason. It's not because I'm handsome, although that's true. There's only one reason that's drawn them. It's because there's chocolate here. And you gotta get the picture that, you know, this whole thing that we gather for here this morning is the same, but it's better than chocolate. But I want you to think about the other side of this whole grave deal, because what actually happened, that these Easter eggs represent, is that some woman turned up early to embalm Jesus, to put ointments and things on his body. And they arrived there, and first of all, there was a shock and a surprise, because the soldiers weren't there, and they should have been. Secondly, they got a even bigger shock, because this huge stone, a thick rock, carved semi-round, as round as they could get it, was rolled back. And you heard what Jenny read out to us early, the story of how they were a little bit surprised when this guy dressed in a white robe was sitting on the right side of the tomb, and it says, you know, don't be surprised. He's not here. He's not here. So I want to look at some things that were showing up here. First of all, we talked about the Roman seal. When that Roman seal was put on, anybody broke the seal of that rock being sealed to the wall of the tomb, anybody broke it, and they would suffer by pain of death. and yet it was broken. The soldiers were gone. The empire didn't even want to take responsibility for it later. But the biggest shock of all for these two women that are coming to embalm one of their very best friends, a person they'd travelled with, the person they'd known for 3 years, the son for one of the women. The huge shock that they suffered was that the tomb was empty. The Roman guard has gone AWOL. And when they looked inside, they see this tomb that's empty. There's a strange thing happen. And I want you to see it. The guys are going to drop the house lights right now. I want you to see this thing. Where's our lighting person, please? All the lights. I want you to see this. You watch and just think about this and watch what happens to the grave clothes. Sound up too. The surprise that they got was that the grave clothes were laying just as they had been on Jesus, except there's no body in them. They weren't wrapped up and put in a corner. The body had gone through them and they had collapsed. We have the lights up again. They had collapsed. And then we have this whole deal that there's a whole bunch of people, even people who were hostile to Jesus and what he was doing, who were witnesses to some of the things that happened. On one occasion, there were even 500 people who were witnesses. We have it recorded in history. And then on top of it, the disciples' lives, but it wasn't easy. The disciples found it really difficult, some of them especially, because even though Jesus had said this thing was going to happen, well, how do you believe that somebody's going to be raised from the dead when you've never seen it before? I mean, it's kind of comparative to somebody saying, I can split an atom and it'll cause thousands and thousands of people to die. It just doesn't seem that real. So we can understand what might have happened. The lights are going to drop down again. Because the disciples had an experience. Let's watch what happened.
Thomas, you must believe.
I want to, Mary. Believe me, I want to. But my mind won't let me. I'd have to see for myself.
Thomas. I saw him.
Are you sure it was him? Did you see the wounds in his wrists? See? She can't be sure. Something else is going on here. Unless I see the mark of the nails, no. Unless I put my finger in the mark of the nails, I will not believe.
Peace be with you.
Lights up again. Can you imagine what it must have felt like for Thomas? Can you imagine what it must have felt like for Mary Magdalene, who said yes, she'd seen him but couldn't answer Thomas's question? Can you imagine what it felt like for Mary, Jesus' mother? Can you imagine what it felt like for Peter and the other disciples that were there? Some of them had already experienced him coming back, and they were so frustrated with Thomas that he couldn't get his head around what was happening. Thomas has been historically labelled the doubter because of it. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate term, because there was another occasion in Scripture when he believed stronger than the others. But I wonder, I've looked at that thing and I've watched it over and over again, thought, man, I would love to have been there. What a moment. What a moment in history for every one of us. Jesus said it was going to happen, and it happened. But nobody, even his disciples, understood what he was saying. So I want to ask the question this morning. Is the resurrection really important to me? Is it really important to me? Do you remember the story of Gulliver? You know, the giant, the big, huge giant? He was held down by what? Anybody tell me? Yeah. Somebody like to try? What was he held bound by? Little fine threads, wasn't it? Little fine threads. And the thing is that Gulliver, this huge giant, thought that those little threads were a joke, because these little people had held him down with the little threads in the story. Little story that's told. And the truth of the matter was, when he went to move, those very, very, very small threads that seemed so minuscule compared to his size held him firm and he couldn't escape. In relation to us, it's the little threads of little things in our lives that hold us captive, and we cannot escape sometimes. But there is a way. There is a way to escape. Remember in the song that Nick sang here earlier on? He was so real, I almost couldn't take it in, or words to that effect. That's the power of what it's all about. But the truth of the matter is, the Scripture also says these words: only those who walk in his light will live for eternity. Only those who walk in his light. There are people who go around saying, but I'm going to get to heaven because I'm a good person. I need to tell you this. I'm a good person too. But I'm not going to get to England on an aeroplane because I'm a good person. I'm going to get to England on the aeroplane because I pay the fare, or somebody pays the fare for me. That's the clarity of it. And the resurrection of Jesus has to do with his death. And it has to do with him paying the price for me and you, each one of us here, that we might be in heaven together. And there's no shortcuts. But he only pays the price for those who want it. I mean, it'd be stupid for him to pay the price for me if I didn't want to fly to England. You just don't do that kind of dumb thing, and neither does God. I have a group of people that are going to come up just right now, and they're going to do something for us. As they come, they're meeting in the side room over here with Florence. As they come, I want you to reflect for a moment. Who am I? Who am I as a person? Was I the same last year? Am I still the same as I was before? This is rather good, really, because this is one of those few occasions I can walk on water safely without sinking. And the question for all of us is, do we accept the miracles that happen around us? Do we accept what Jesus Christ has done for us? And so that wasn't meant to happen. So I've got these people that are going to come out now, one by one, and I want you to look at what they show you, and think about it. So let's welcome them as they start to come out. Let's give them a big hand. go, guys. Hey? We have a little glitch in the system. I think Florence, who runs our programs, may have got called by a baby or something. She's got a little one. So here they come. Just line up across the front of the stage. Turn your card around. Turn your card over. Turn your card over. One at a time. Wait till the others go. Too fast, guys. One at a time. Turn your cards over one at a time. Turn your card over when you're ready. You turn it over. You've turned yours over. One at a time, just slowly. These are all real powerful statements about changed lives. There's many more here. I'm another one. And I wonder, what it'd be like for you to be able to do what this multimedia showed us at the beginning, to be able to say, I spoke with him this morning. I had communion with God. I was able to share with him. I was able to express and experience his love. It's what God has offered us the opportunity to do for every one of us. Let's give this big, huge team a hand as they go back to their seats. Just go straight off the stage. I'm going to get the guys to turn the waterfall on right now. Let's give the team that built this a big hand. In case you didn't realise, the two dramatists were part of the team, you know. The humour was a little bit dry, wasn't it? You guys are a bit slow. Wet, dry, you know. And I want to ask you this question this morning. I want to ask you really carefully. Do you want to know the same thing many of us here have experienced? The power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Would you like to really know him? Would you like to know that you've got eternity secure for sure? Then my invitation to you this morning is to do that. And we're going to do a little thing that's perhaps a little different to what we've done before. We do it different every year. We want to give you an invitation this morning. And I don't want people who already claim to be followers of Jesus Christ to come up here. They can do that later if they want to. But on Friday we had a number of people who said, yes, I want to be a follower of Jesus. And the way we're doing it this morning, we're going to invite you to come here, to come up the steps here, pick up a little vial like this. This little vial's got no intrinsic significance except to say it's a little memento for you, for the future. To come here, and we've designed this waterfall so you can actually walk behind it. And I promise you won't get too wet. You can collect a little water on your way through. And then go up the side here and make the journey. And there'll be some people here waiting to welcome you and take you to our auditorium where we've got a bit of a party set up and some stuff to give you. So the invitation is for you to come. To walk through the waterfall is a kind of a symbol of saying, I'm willing to do the walk. I'm willing to know Jesus. I'm willing to make that step. And I want to make that invitation to you to do that this morning. We've got a music team that are going to come and play for us. We won't have to keep turning a waterfall off this morning like we did on Friday. The guys have made a bigger trench to take the water away. But I want to invite you, as the musicians and singers come up here quickly, to make a decision to become a follower of Jesus Christ in a way you never have before, and to be a person who's going to be guaranteed eternity in heaven if you keep walking with him. And the invitation is for you to come here this morning and to do that. To come up here. I'll give you a vial. I'll be waiting here to welcome you. I'll give you one of these little vials, and then you can be a follower of Jesus. This is a first step you're making. It's not a one-off decision for the rest of your life. So if you'd like to do that, then I'd like to invite you to make that decision this morning.